In the intricate web of human emotions, there is one thread that often binds us tightly: the need for control. Just like a spider meticulously weaves and monitors its web, we too strive to oversee every corner of our lives, seeking security and certainty. But what if this desire for control is more than just a habit? What if it is an instinct deeply rooted in nature, mirrored in the behavior of animals around us? Through the lens of the natural world, we can begin to unravel the mysteries of our own emotional patterns, discovering surprising connections between human feelings and animal instincts. Prepare to explore how the spider's web can teach us about our own need to manage and master the environments we live in. The need for control is a fundamental emotional experience shared by nearly everyone, though it often manifests in subtle, complex ways. At its core, this emotional state arises from a deep-seated desire to feel safe, secure, and competent in a world that can often feel unpredictable or overwhelming. When people feel in control, they experience a sense of stability and confidence. When that control slips away, anxiety, frustration, or even despair can follow. This push and pull between holding on and letting go is woven into the fabric of daily life, influencing decisions, relationships, and mental well-being. In everyday moments, this need for control can appear in countless scenarios: a manager who micromanages a team because she fears failure, a parent who tries to shield their child from every possible harm, or even a person meticulously organizing their schedule down to the last minute. These behaviors might seem excessive or irrational to an outsider, but for the person experiencing them, they are efforts to create a sense of order amid chaos. It's as if controlling external factors becomes a way to control internal emotional states. This emotional need is tied closely to the human brain's natural wiring. Our minds are designed to predict and prepare for what's next. Unpredictability triggers a stress response. When things are uncertain, the brain's alarm bells ring, pushing us to seek ways to reassert control. Sometimes this means practical actions like planning or organizing, other times it can turn into obsessive behaviors or anxiety. The struggle isn't just about wanting things a certain way but about calming the inner turmoil caused by the unknown. Consider someone facing a major life change, such as moving to a new city or starting a new job. Even if the change is positive, it disrupts the familiar patterns that provide comfort. The uncertainty triggers the need to regain control, through routines, information gathering, or controlling small aspects of life. The emotional landscape becomes a battleground where the need to feel safe battles with the reality of unpredictability. This tension is universal, crossing cultural and social boundaries. Yet, the desire for control isn't inherently negative. It can motivate people to prepare, protect, and improve their lives. The entrepreneur who carefully plans every step of their business launch, or the athlete who controls their training routine with precision, both harness this emotional drive positively. The challenge arises when the need for control becomes rigid or excessive, leading to stress, conflicts, or an inability to adapt when things don't go as expected. Emotionally, the need for control often intertwines with feelings of vulnerability. Admitting a lack of control can feel like admitting weakness or failure. Many individuals mask their fear of uncertainty with attempts to dominate situations or people, inadvertently pushing others away or creating tension. This is why control struggles can permeate personal relationships as well as professional environments. The modern world, with its rapid changes and constant information flow, can intensify this emotional state. Social media, news cycles, and a fast pace of life bombard people with stimuli, much of it unpredictable or uncontrollable. The compulsion to manage one's digital presence, reputation, or social image is a modern reflection of this age-old emotional drive for control. Ultimately, the emotional state of needing control is deeply human, connected to survival instincts, personal identity, and emotional safety. It shapes how we navigate our world, impacting our choices and interactions. But understanding this need also opens the door to greater self-awareness, recognizing when control helps and when it hinders, learning to balance order with flexibility, and discovering how to find peace even amid uncertainty. As we progress, we will explore how this deeply human emotional experience finds a mirror in the natural world, where animals embody similar patterns of control, protection, and vigilance, teaching us powerful lessons about our own instincts. In the quiet corners of nature, where patience meets precision, the spider quietly crafts one of the most remarkable structures known to the animal kingdom, the web. This delicate yet incredibly strong network of silk threads is more than just a trap for prey, it is a masterpiece of control, strategy, and survival. The spider's relationship with its web offers a profound metaphor for the human emotional state centered on the need to control and monitor one's environment. Spiders are solitary architects who invest immense energy and skill into weaving their webs. This process is not random, it follows a precise pattern, designed to maximize efficiency and resilience. Every thread is carefully placed to create a structure that can capture prey, withstand environmental changes, and provide a safe haven. The spider's control over the web reflects its control over its immediate world. The web is both a tool and a territory. A physical manifestation of the spider's will and vigilance. This intricate weaving process begins with the spider releasing silk threads that anchor the web to surrounding objects. From these anchor points, radial lines stretch out, connecting to a central hub. Next comes the spiral threads, sticky and delicate, designed to trap unsuspecting insects. The spider then takes up residence at the center or along a strategic line, ready to sense the slightest vibration. A warning signal that its prey has been caught or that the web needs repair. This constant monitoring mirrors the human urge to oversee every aspect of their domain. The spider's behavior also reveals an instinctual understanding of balance between control and adaptability. Webs are regularly maintained, repaired, or even completely rebuilt depending on external conditions. When storms or disturbances damage the web, the spider doesn't panic. It accepts the temporary loss of control and methodically reconstructs its network. This resilience shows a dynamic relationship with control, not absolute domination but continuous adjustment and vigilance. Spiders come in thousands of species, each adapting their web-building strategies to their environment. Orb weavers create the classic wheel-shaped webs that are both functional and aesthetically striking. Other species, like the funnel web spider, construct trapdoors and tunnels, showing how control can take different forms depending on context. Despite these differences, all spiders share a fundamental drive to create and sustain a controlled space that enhances survival. Socially, spiders are mostly solitary creatures, guarding their webs jealously. This solitude reflects a need for personal control over their space and resources. Intrusions by other spiders often lead to aggressive confrontations. The web, therefore, is not just a tool but a boundary, a declaration of ownership and safety. It's a reminder that control often involves guarding what is precious, protecting boundaries, and carefully managing interactions. The spider's world is also marked by patience and keen awareness. Building a web can take hours, and the spider waits silently, sometimes for days, for the right moment to act. This vigilance parallels human experiences where control is maintained through constant observation and readiness, even when immediate action isn't required. The spider's patience underscores that control isn't always about force but about timing, presence, and attentiveness. Moreover, the spider's web is fragile yet incredibly strong, symbolizing the delicate balance humans try to maintain when managing their emotional and external worlds. The slightest disruption can cause the web to falter, just as minor changes in life can threaten a person's sense of control. Yet the spider's persistence in rebuilding shows a quiet strength and acceptance of impermanence that humans can learn from. In essence, the spider embodies the need for control through its mastery over the web, a creation that is both a sanctuary and a strategic tool. Its behaviors invite us to reflect on how control can be a blend of creativity, vigilance, and adaptability, rather than rigid domination. By observing this tiny architect of nature, we uncover parallels that illuminate the complexities of our own emotional landscapes. As we move forward, the connection between the spider's instinctual behaviors and human emotional patterns will become clearer, offering insights into how we might better understand and manage our own need for control. When we look closely at the spider and its web, we begin to see a mirror reflecting our own emotional needs, especially the intense desire for control that often shapes our thoughts and actions. The spider's intricate weaving and constant vigilance echo the human urge to monitor, manage, and secure our environment. This parallel reveals not only how deeply rooted our need for control is, but also how natural it can be when viewed through the lens of instinct. Just as the spider builds a web to catch prey and protect its space, humans create structures, both physical and psychological, to capture stability and guard against uncertainty. For example, a person might develop strict routines, organize their home meticulously, or carefully control their social circles, much like a spider meticulously arranges each silk thread. This behavior is not about perfectionism alone but about establishing a reliable foundation that offers safety and predictability. The spider's sensitivity to vibrations in the web parallels our heightened awareness of subtle changes in our surroundings. We constantly scan for signs that things might be shifting, a slight change in tone during a conversation, a missed deadline at work, or an unexpected event. These signals can trigger an internal alarm, prompting us to tighten our grip on control to prevent potential disruption. Like the spider poised in its web, ready to respond instantly, we are wired to react to perceived threats to our sense of order. Moreover, the spider's ongoing maintenance of its web, repairing damage and adapting to changing conditions, mirrors how humans strive to adjust their control mechanisms in daily life. When life throws unexpected challenges, whether it's a sudden job loss or a health scare, people often try to rebuild their sense of control by reorganizing priorities, seeking information, or developing new habits. This adaptive process reflects the spider's resilience and pragmatic approach to control, showing us that maintaining control is often about flexibility rather than rigidity. However, this comparison also reveals the emotional costs of control. Just as a damaged web requires constant attention and repair, a human's need for control can become exhausting and emotionally draining. People can become trapped in cycles of worry, perfectionism, or over-monitoring, much like a spider obsessively fixing every minor tear. This relentless focus on control can isolate individuals socially and psychologically, creating barriers to spontaneity, creativity, and emotional openness. The solitary nature of the spider also highlights how the need for control can sometimes lead to isolation. By guarding its web fiercely, the spider avoids intrusion but also limits connection. Similarly, humans who are overly driven by control may withdraw from relationships or push others away, fearing unpredictability or loss of dominance. This tension between control and connection is a fundamental human struggle, where the desire to feel safe can sometimes conflict with the need for intimacy. Using metaphor, the spider's web becomes a vivid symbol of the emotional web humans weave around themselves. Each thread represents efforts to manage fears, secure resources, and maintain identity. Just as the spider's survival depends on a well-crafted web, a person's emotional well-being often depends on the structures they build to manage life's uncertainties. Yet, the spider's behavior also teaches an important lesson about balance. Its willingness to rebuild after destruction shows that control is not a fixed state but a process, one that involves acceptance, patience, and adaptation. Similarly, humans might learn to embrace uncertainty as part of life, understanding that true control sometimes means knowing when to let go and when to repair. In essence, the spider and the human share a dance between order and chaos, control and vulnerability. The web is both a fortress and a delicate instrument, reflecting the complex emotional landscape where our need for control operates. By recognizing this parallel, we gain empathy for ourselves and others, realizing that the struggle for control is a universal instinct shaped by survival and growth. As we continue, the scientific explanations behind these behaviors will deepen our understanding, linking psychology and biology to this timeless human-animal connection. Understanding the deep connection between the spider's behavior and the human need for control invites us into a fascinating intersection of psychology and biology. While spiders instinctively build and monitor their webs as a survival mechanism, humans engage in similar behaviors driven by complex neurological and psychological processes. Scientific studies reveal that our urge for control is not merely a preference but an essential part of how our brains regulate emotions and manage stress. From a psychological perspective, the need for control is closely linked to how humans cope with uncertainty and anxiety. Research in cognitive behavioral psychology shows that when people perceive their environment as unpredictable or threatening, their brains activate mechanisms aimed at restoring order. This can manifest in behaviors such as planning, organizing, and monitoring situations meticulously, much like the spider maintains its web. The sense of control helps reduce feelings of helplessness and creates a mental buffer against stress. Neuroscience provides insight into the brain structures involved in this process. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making and executive function, plays a crucial role in regulating control-related behaviors. It assesses risks, weighs options, and helps individuals plan their responses to challenges. When a person feels in control, this area is more active, promoting calm and focus. Conversely, a perceived loss of control can trigger the amygdala, the brain's fear center, leading to heightened anxiety and defensive behaviors. The spider's behavior, while instinctual, also relies on sensory input and processing. Its ability to detect minute vibrations through its web is a form of environmental monitoring that increases its chances of survival. This sensory vigilance parallels how humans constantly scan their environment for threats or changes, sometimes leading to hypervigilance. Psychological studies have shown that chronic stress can intensify this hyper-awareness, making the need for control more urgent and persistent. From an evolutionary standpoint, the drive for control is adaptive. Early humans who could anticipate dangers, organize resources, and create protective environments were more likely to survive. The spider's web building is a similarly adaptive behavior, a physical manifestation of control that ensures food capture and shelter. Both humans and spiders have evolved mechanisms to manage risks by establishing boundaries and monitoring their surroundings closely. Several psychological theories deepen this understanding. For example, Julian Rotter's locus of control theory differentiates between internal and external control beliefs. People with an internal locus believe they can influence outcomes through their actions, much like the spider actively builds and repairs its web. Those with an external locus feel events are beyond their control, often leading to anxiety or resignation. This theory helps explain why some individuals respond to stress by increasing control behaviors, while others may withdraw. Another relevant concept is self-regulation, the ability to manage one's emotions and behaviors to achieve goals. Maintaining control over one's environment is a key aspect of self-regulation. Research shows that people who can effectively regulate their emotions tend to cope better with uncertainty and stress. This regulation often involves setting boundaries, monitoring situations, and adjusting responses, which aligns with the spider's constant web maintenance. Biologically, the spider's silk production is an extraordinary feat of evolution. Spider silk is composed of proteins that offer both strength and elasticity, allowing the web to absorb impact without breaking easily. This combination of flexibility and resilience is a physical metaphor for psychological control, rigid enough to maintain order, yet flexible enough to adapt to changing circumstances. Scientists studying spider silk are even inspired to create new materials based on its properties, demonstrating the web's remarkable design. Interestingly, studies on animal behavior show that certain species, including spiders, demonstrate problem-solving and learning abilities that suggest more complex cognition than previously assumed. This challenges the notion that their behaviors are purely instinctual and highlights how environmental interaction shapes their survival strategies. Similarly, human control behaviors emerge from a dynamic interplay between innate instincts and learned experiences. In summary, scientific research bridges the gap between the spider's natural behaviors and the human emotional experience of control. Both involve intricate systems, whether neurological or biological, that work to create stability amid uncertainty. Recognizing these connections enriches our understanding of why the need for control is so deeply embedded in our nature, and how it can be both a source of strength and a challenge to navigate. As we move into real-life examples, these scientific insights will help us see the everyday expressions of control in action, illuminating the practical impact of this fundamental instinct. The human need for control, much like the spider's vigilant care of its web, reveals itself in countless everyday situations. These real-life examples highlight how our instinctual drive to maintain order and safety shapes our behaviors, relationships, and responses to challenges. By exploring these mini-stories, we can better understand the deep emotional roots behind our urge to control our environment. Consider Sarah, a project manager at a busy marketing firm. She meticulously plans every detail of her team's work, setting strict deadlines and monitoring progress closely. When unexpected changes arise, such as a client altering campaign goals, Sarah feels immediate stress and frustration, pushing her to regain control by adjusting schedules and increasing check-ins. Her behavior mirrors the spider's constant web maintenance, repairing damage and reinforcing strands to keep the structure intact. For Sarah, control provides reassurance amid the unpredictable chaos of work, even though it sometimes isolates her from colleagues who perceive her as overly rigid. In contrast, John is a father managing a household with 3 young children. His need for control expresses itself in creating daily routines, meal times, bedtimes, and homework schedules, that bring predictability to a hectic home life. When his plans are disrupted, John experiences anxiety and strives to restore order quickly. This behavior parallels the spider's response to vibrations on its web, an alert readiness to act to preserve safety. John's routines serve as emotional anchors for both himself and his family, helping them navigate uncertainty with a shared sense of stability. On a different note, Lisa, a college student, struggles with social anxiety rooted in a fear of losing control in public situations. She prepares extensively for social events, choosing outfits carefully, rehearsing conversations, and arriving early to avoid surprises. Like the spider scanning its web for any disturbance, Lisa constantly monitors her environment for potential threats to her emotional safety. Her efforts to control external factors are attempts to manage internal vulnerability, demonstrating how the need for control can also be a protective mechanism against emotional discomfort. Another example involves Michael, a small business owner facing financial challenges. As his company faces unexpected market shifts, Michael responds by increasing his oversight of expenses, renegotiating contracts, and scrutinizing cash flow daily. His behavior echoes the spider's vigilance over its web's integrity, as he works tirelessly to prevent collapse. Though exhausting, these control-driven actions reflect a deep survival instinct, showing how the emotional need for control can fuel resilience during crises. However, control can sometimes manifest in less adaptive ways. Consider Emma, who deals with perfectionism and obsessive behaviors that stem from a need to control every aspect of her life. She spends hours cleaning her home, organizing possessions, and double-checking tasks. This relentless pursuit of control resembles a spider obsessively repairing even the smallest tear in its web. Emma's behavior, while understandable as a coping mechanism, often leads to stress and social withdrawal, illustrating how the need for control can become overwhelming. These examples reveal a spectrum of control-driven behaviors, from healthy routines and strategic management to anxiety-driven vigilance and perfectionism. They show that control is not a fixed trait but a dynamic response shaped by context, personality, and emotional state. Like the spider adapting its web to changing conditions, humans continuously adjust their control strategies to meet life's demands. Moreover, these stories highlight the emotional consequences of control. While it can provide comfort and safety, excessive control may isolate individuals, increase stress, and hinder flexibility. Recognizing these patterns allows us to approach our need for control with compassion and awareness, balancing order with openness to uncertainty. In relationships, for instance, control can create tension when one partner's need to manage every detail conflicts with the other's desire for spontaneity. Understanding this dynamic as an instinctual behavior rather than mere stubbornness can foster empathy and communication. Just as the spider's web must withstand external forces, human connections require flexibility and trust alongside structure. These many cases remind us that the human instinct for control is deeply intertwined with survival, emotion, and adaptation. By seeing ourselves in these stories, We gain insight into our own behaviors and the behaviors of those around us, paving the way for healthier ways to navigate control and uncertainty. As we reach the final chapter, we will reflect on the lessons this connection between spider and human teaches us about balance, self-awareness, and emotional growth. Understanding the intricate dance between the spider's instinct to build and maintain its web and the human emotional need for control invites us into a journey of self-awareness and growth. This connection offers valuable lessons on how to embrace our control impulses without letting them dominate or diminish our lives. One of the most profound insights is the importance of balance. Just as the spider's web must be strong enough to catch prey yet flexible enough to endure wind and rain, human control must be tempered with adaptability. Rigid control can lead to frustration, anxiety, and isolation, while too little control can result in chaos and helplessness. Finding the middle path allows us to create structure that supports rather than confines us. This balance begins with self-awareness, recognizing when our need for control arises and why. Often, control is a response to fear of uncertainty, failure, or loss. By acknowledging these fears without judgment, we open the door to compassion for ourselves. Instead of battling our instincts, we can learn to guide them with intention, much like the spider patiently repairing its web only where needed. Another key lesson is the power of letting go. While the spider can repair its web endlessly, it must also abandon and rebuild when damage is too great. Similarly, humans benefit from learning when to release control, trusting that not everything requires our constant monitoring. This doesn't mean giving up responsibility but rather embracing the natural ebb and flow of life, allowing space for growth, spontaneity, and surprise. Reflection also reveals that control, when understood properly, is not about domination but about connection. The spider's web is not merely a trap but a network linking it to its environment. In human terms, control can become a tool for creating safety and trust within relationships, workplaces, and communities. When balanced, it fosters cooperation rather than conflict, providing a foundation where people feel secure enough to express themselves freely. Moreover, embracing our instinctual need for control with awareness encourages emotional resilience. When challenges arise, viewing control as a flexible strategy rather than a fixed need empowers us to adapt and recover more gracefully. It transforms control from a source of anxiety into a resource for empowerment, helping us navigate uncertainty with courage and creativity. This journey also invites us to explore vulnerability. True strength lies not in absolute control but in the courage to face what we cannot control. Like the spider waiting patiently on its web, we learn to observe, respond, and sometimes surrender, trusting that resilience comes from persistence and openness. Ultimately, the metaphor of the spider and its web teaches us that control is a natural, vital part of being human, but it is not the whole story. Our emotional health flourishes when control is balanced with trust, when vigilance is paired with flexibility, and when structure coexists with freedom. As you reflect on your own experiences, consider where your control serves you and where it might be holding you back. How can you become more like the spider, intentional in building your web, yet wise enough to know when to repair, when to wait, and when to start anew? These reflections offer a path toward deeper self-understanding and emotional harmony, reminding us that the web we weave in life is not only about catching prey but about connecting with the world and ourselves in meaningful ways. Control is both a shield and a web we weave around our lives, protecting, connecting, and sometimes confining us. What if we embraced it not as a chain, but as a thread of understanding, flexibility, and trust? As you pause to reflect, ask yourself, how can you balance the instinct to control with the courage to let go, creating a life as resilient and beautiful as a spider's web?